Hello everyone, welcome you all to Plastic Industry Tech Talk. This is hosted by Technobase. In today's session of the Plastic Industry Tech Talk, we're going to address issues on the plastic recycling in India and an overview what's happening in the Indian plastic industry with reference to the recycling. And our guest speaker today is Dr. Samir Joshi. He's a Vice Chairman of the Indian Plastic Institute. Let me quickly brief to you about Dr. Samir Joshi. He is very well known. I came to know about he also received the Guinness Book of Records with the largest size of the t-shirt, which is made by the recycled plastics. That is very wonderful, and also very passionate about the plastics waste management, well recognized in India as well as overseas too. And I mean, he's been working on these aspects of plastic recycling for last 30 years and mentor and coach for many startups related to the plastic recycling products. That is amazing. So it's a pleasure to have Dr. Samir Joshi as a part of this program to learn about what is going on in India with reference to the plastic recycling. Dr. Samir Joshi, welcome you to this Plastic Industry Tech Talk.
Namaste, and thank you so much for having me.
So let's first you start with the presentation. After that, we will have a conversation on what you have discussed about. Okay?
Sure. I'm going to talk today on the plastic industry and how the situation is in India, and it's like at crossroads, and how do we go from here? The plastics, fantastic? No longer fantastic in the eyes of the common person because of what is happening. I've written a point discussed here why in the presentation, it has a low eco footprint and a financial also footprint across the life cycle. Many studies indicate that the life cycle of plastics and the environmental impact is much less than the paper and the other industries. Belonging to a plastic industry, I'm not here to sell plastics, but I'm here to sell the right perception of plastics. When in recycled paper, no chlorine or peroxide is used. There is less energy and almost no water during the production. It's flexible, strong, recyclable, and can take any shape, package anything. Unlike there are restrictions of packaging and a wide range of applications from bags to rockets. What is the eco footprint of plastics? 20% by weight, but 53% of packaging. Glass is 20% by weight, but only 10% of packaging happens in the final use. And we have seen the revolutions and the evolutions. 50% of India's food was wasted due to the lack of proper storage and packaging. This is not my statistics, it's the government of India statistics. And plastics have saved more than 25% of the food when they were started to use in packaging. Of course, every coin has two sides. One of the biggest advantages of polymers, non-degradability, emerged as one of its biggest disadvantages. And that's where we are suffering today. The anti-littering laws are not there. People litter plastics and blame plastics. Someone has coined a very nice line in the Indian plastic industry. Plastics do not litter. People do. And then we have this solid waste management that is here for managing the plastic waste. It begins with segregation, recycling, and biodegradability. Here on the chart, I have shown how much is the energy requirement for producing the plastics. A detailed reference can be had at www.biod.in. The eco footprint of plastics, jute versus plastics. In India, we have what a bread called as chapati that is made from atta. The energy consumption in gigajoules for manufacturing raw materials. Look at this compared for plastics and for jute. There is an energy saving of 81%. The comparison holds good for a plastic versus jute carry bags too. And again, coming to the eco footprint of plastics, here are the figures which talk for themselves. And they are favorable in terms of plastics. What is the high potential for global warming? Not plastics, but those materials which seem to offer alternatives to plastics. Despite all this, the plastics are under the scanner. We have seen the perception of plastics in the pandemic. Health and safety was of prime importance in the pandemic times. At the same time, there are questions post the pandemic about the toxicity, the biodegradability, and the disposal and waste management. We have seen masks being littered post the pandemic in the oceans. How did the masks come up there? They have not come by themselves. And we have about questions about the biodegradability of plastics. It is a question which has many other aspects, but the most important part for the plastic waste management is how it is disposed and how the waste management is carried out at the household level, where we segregate our plastics, then during transportation to the local facility where the plastics and other degradables are separated and the dry waste is sent for recycling and the waste is treated. Health and safety. These materials that are formed of the polyethylene, polypropylene, polystyrene, and polyethylene, these are in contact with food, pharmaceuticals, and drinking water, implants in the polymer body. In medical applications, we have seen how plastics have been the saviors in terms of the pandemic. And for packaging of liquid milk, the biggest commodity on earth, packaged. Sometimes toxicity issues are raised, but there is a study done that plastics are inert materials and do not pose any dangers of toxicity. This is a study done by a scientific institute in India. Emissions during the processing of plastics are well within the regulatory norms. Additives that are used in plastics are approved by the BIS. That is, BIS is the Bureau of Indian Standards, and the FDA, the strict FDA authority of USA. Emissions at fire situation have similar or lesser implication in comparison to the situation involving natural organic materials like wood, paper, and cotton. Emissions during burning of paper and polyethylene are similar. Then come the perception of biodegradability. Non-biodegradability of plastics is then the reason of waste management. Fact, even a banana peel biodegrades in 1-2 years substantially in modern landfills. Indian landfills do not practice the composting activities. Biodegradable plastics are available in natural form, like the PLA, and this consumption of the natural polymers that are based on natural resources in the times ahead in India and the world will increase, perhaps giving plastics a better name in the times to be. There is one very important fact to be considered about the conceptions of biodegradable and compostable. Bio-based is home composting, industrial composting, and anaerobic digestion in terms of petroleum based. Non-biodegradable is petroleum based. India and most developing and developed nations do not have man-made industrial composting facilities essential for composting plastics to turn into compost. So it is very important to know when we are dealing with compostable and biodegradable plastics. The real expectations. Banana peel 6 months. See the naked eye how the banana peel will look. A PET bottle biodegrading after 3 months anaerobically, and a PET bottle under a microscope. It's time that we have scientific approaches to plastics and then treat them and see what are the facts. Look at this. Algae formation on nutrients after biodegradation. Reality versus expectations. Home compostable. Now we see items that are lined with polyethylene. We say paper cups and paper cutlery is plastic free, but no, it is not. And how do we see plastics in the trends shaping our world? Sustainable supply chain, health and hygiene, explosion in the e-commerce industry, unserved marketing, exploding in West Africa and Southeast Asia. Technologies of today and tomorrow, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, microbiology, and cryptocurrency. The elderly population rising in our nations, except most of Africa. Skilled workers training, energy revolution, solar hydrogen in terms of energy, EVs, climate change and water scarcity. And how do plastics play their role here in this ecosystem? We have what we call a new normal after the pandemic. But I look at it at a different angle. I say it is no longer a new normal. It's an accepted normal, a normal which we have come to accept whether we liked it or not. See the graph. On one side are the government regulations, other side are the consumer driven factors. Post the pandemic, we have started with more focus on sustainability, health and hygiene, and the technologies. Health and hygiene, we need hygiene packaging, cleanliness of the factory and the packaging during transport and storage, the shelf life and nutrition on one side. Other side, the sustainability, where we talk of waste and recycling, end of life solutions for plastics, creating lesser pollution in air and water and on land, and the ecological footprint of a person and a material. And then we have the technologies of today shaping our plastic industry like never before in the times to be. Artificial intelligence, smart packaging, and customized printing. This is the new norm. Customer viewpoints in the times of pandemic, how the focus changed on more hygiene and more concern for food and safety. Look at the Indian perception change. 94% of the people are concerned about the hygiene and food safety, and that's where the plastic comes in. In India, we consume per capita per year around 13 to 14 kgs of plastics, whereas in the United States, it is around 100 kgs. It's a long way to go and a long path indeed. Look at the waste generation, the pollution, the climate change and deforestation, how in every country it is becoming a problem of concern. This has led to very, very difficult issues for us post the pandemic, and climate change and waste management and pollution are the global challenges in the new years to come. Look at this viewpoints. Plastics we see which are fully recyclable 23%, biodegradable plastics slowly making their presence felt in around 22%. Recyclable bottles are 19%, cartons are 17% when we talk of paper, glass are 13%, and metal 7%. What is the future of packaging? On one side, we have the ban. One of my colleagues has put a nice coin, a nice line to it. Not to ban, but to plan. If we can make plastics fully recyclable, it will be another trendsetter in the ban history. Cosmetics and sustainable packaging, upcycling the materials, and this is the future when cosmetics will also be now packaged in more environment friendly materials. Before I give the Indian perspective, this was the learning we had, and I wanted to put it in terms of these perspectives face each one of us in the various countries that we live in. And what have we learned? That consumers are more or equally interested in recyclable and recycled plastic packaging in the years after the pandemic. Overall, consumers want plastic films and rigid films to be recyclable or to have include higher levels of the recycled content. Consumers expect more biodegradable packaging to be introduced. The elephant is the room. Quality, 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 and quality at the right cost. The elephant is the plastic. People are ready to pay more for sustainable packaging to the tune of 60 to 70%. Price isn't the only thing that drives value. We have to ensure that the consumers know that they are buying more sustainable packaging and sustainable choices across the products and the categories. Coming to the Indian story. Every year, India produces 9.25 million tons of plastics. The Taj Mahal, one of the 7 wonders of the world, if this plastics generation were to be compared with that, that would be 771 times the weight of the Taj Mahal. Or the Qutub Minar, another monument in the city of Hyderabad, it would weigh around 660 times. Plastic problem facing India. But at the same time, in India, we have managed to put recycling to a better percentage, and we recycle around 60% of plastics what we produce and consume. Here are the regulatory developments that happened in India from 2014. In India, the Swachh Bharat or the Clean India mission was launched in 2014. In 2016, the first plastic waste management rules came into the being, and they were released for as an act of the parliament. In the era of the 2017, there was increased focus on implementation. 2018, the World Environment Day, the host country was India, and India made a epoch decision that India will phase out single-use plastics by 2022, and that's what our honorable Prime Minister announced, and he received the Champion of the Earth award that year. And true to the commitment, India has been on the forefront of not only banning the single-use plastics, but taking steps to implement that in letter and spirit. Again, this is how, going a little back in the era of 2000, how the municipal solid waste management rules were formulated. In 2011, the plastic waste management and handling rules for the first time covered the principle of the extended producer's responsibility. In very simple terms, extended producer's responsibility, or EPR, is whatever the plastic is brought in the market, it has to be collected back and recycled. In 2016, the rules were modified and made the plastic waste management rules to be complemented by the solid waste management rules of the 2000 year, and the amendment rules extended the production stakeholders in the plastic waste amendment rules 2000. In 2022, India created a portal for extended producers responsibility where everyone has to register, and a year down, that is in 2023, there has been considerable progress. The Times of India reported on 17th of September 2021 that India amended their plastic waste management rules to allow recycled plastic in food contact materials. This has been an epoch decision in the Indian ecosystem as far as plastics go. According to the amendment, recycling plastics, and they can be used for storing, carrying, dispensing, or packaging ready to eat or drink food stuff, as long as it follows the standards set up by the Food and Safety Standards Act of 2006. And therefore, packaging laws will fall under the umbrella of the Food and Safety Standards Act. This change came into effect, and the notification was issued by the Government of India. As I said about the EPR, these are the targets for collecting back the plastics, 30 to 50% by 2024, 25, and from 27 to 28, around this percent, the 60 to 80% of the plastics has to be collected back. And recycled plastics will gradually increase their use in the packaging from 10%, 20%, 30%. Why these years of 2024 and 20 and beyond, 27 and 28? We have to be ready for the ecosystem, the consumer, the manufacturer, the technology. All have to play their part if this policy of taking back the plastics and making it plastic waste free has to be implemented in letter and spirit. This map of India gives a snapshot of where all the recycling centers of this country are located. You can see practically almost all the states in India have been covered with recycling centers, and these are formal recycling centers. And we see a lot of startups and a lot of investments happening in the recycling plastic ecosystem of India. Indore has been the cleanest city of India for the last 7 years, and the Indore model of plastic waste recycling has been showcased at the world level. Bhopal, a city which is nearby to Indore, the capital of the state of Madhya Pradesh, that plastic recycling model has been showcased at the World Bank, and 72 nations have adopted Indore's waste to energy model. India is at, as I said, evolving. That's why I said it's at crossroads. A philosophical yet a practical view. All species are interdependent. So taking care of our shared resources is essential so that the human prosperity can coexist with the conservation goals. It is eco versus the ego. Ecology on one side and the ego, the human ego on one side. After all, we are one planet and we have only limited resources. Look at the finest example of upscaling, and 100% waste material was used to make India's first social humanoid robot in the city of Mumbai, using discarded plastic, cardboard, wood, and aluminium. The robot just resembles a woman, but also speaks like one. It can greet people, display emotions, read newspaper, and recite recipes and perform many other activities. Her name is Shalu, and she has the broadest range of skills, which includes recognizing people's faces and remembering them. Shalu can speak in 9 Indian and 38 foreign languages. She is used as a robo teacher in a classroom environment and can conduct quizzes. That is the beauty of Shalu, being made from 100% waste material, and the marriage of artificial intelligence and the waste put to great use in this humanoid. Shalu is a great inspiration for the next generation scientist. So how do we redefine plastics in the new world? Redesigning our plastics, being responsible and not littering, repositioning it in the ecosystem, resisting the temptation to not use where not needed, and doing things like restructuring our ecosystem, rethinking our thoughts, creating the 5 or many R's that we know: redesigning, being responsible, repositioning, resisting the temptation, restructuring, and rethinking. These are classic examples on how the Indian ecosystem has evolved. In Assam, a state in India, a school accepts plastic waste as school fees, and this has been a revolution in education. A garbage bin that rewards users with free Wi-Fi, that is a revolution. You can see on the slide how the take back mechanism of putting plastics. It is not only plastic bottles, but also other forms of garbage being put in the machine and being rewarded for this. Here is a classic example. There is a young startup in the city of Mumbai. His name is Sharang Ambadkar, a 26-year-old IT professional who has left his cushy job and has entered the world of waste and the waste management. He has recycled the not so easy multi-layered plastics, the number 7 of the plastics, into tiles from plastic waste and made tiles that are 100% eco-friendly and 100% again recyclable. That is the beauty of New India, where the startup ecosystem is coming out of the comfort zone and making impact on the waste and the plastic industry. Here is a person, we call them waste picker or rat picker. They have been really waste warriors in the pandemic. We were locked in, but our waste was not. And these waste warriors have been given the power of the internet. I call this adding internet to the trash. This is by a startup by the name of Recycle, RECYKAL, in India. Started in the year 2018. It is India's first waste commerce company. Like we have the e-commerce company, it is India's first waste commerce company. And in the year of January 2023, they become a Suricorn, a new word which even I heard for the first time, that is a soon to become a unicorn. And this company will be India's first unicorn in the plastic waste management sector. Look at the impact from 18 to 23 and how they have added digitization to the waste and empowered the waste warriors. And this impact being taken and recognized even at the World Economic Forum. I mentioned about the plastics not being recycled. They are put to great use. Indian government has mandated the use of non-recyclable plastics in road making. This is an epoch decision, and 1 kilometer of road uses around 600 to 800 kgs of plastics. And the roads are sustainable and without potholes. That is what happened when plastics were used. Our earth is what we only have: planet, people, profit, and plastics. How we have to look at plastics and planet for profit or for people. This is an startup in India by the name of Planet First. This is working high in the mountains of Himalayas, where collecting the plastic waste, a startup putting the planet first, people later, and in the whole process making profits and collecting the plastics. This is to show that there is money in plastics and recycling. We talk of ocean-bound plastics, and here is another classic example of a startup in Mumbai, Lucro, that produces high quality, cost competitive, and good to work for the world ocean-bound plastic bags. This is one of its kinds, large recycled bags from ocean plastics. In 2018, I had the fortune of being a member of the team that made the world's largest t-shirt from 200,000 plastic bottles. I moved around the entire nation, and wherever I went, I put in place a system where the plastic bottles were collected, and we made this record, which was 70 meters in wide and 100 meters in length. The world's largest t-shirt, and the message was that if 6 1-liter bottles are not littered, they can clothe a child. I have been doing plastic waste management even for armed forces, and that is the priority. The armed forces have to guard the nation, but even they are concerned about the plastic pollution created by the waste, and they have managed it. The person you can see whose hand I'm clutching, he has received the 4th largest civilian award in India, that is the Padma Shri. And he is the one person responsible for making use of plastics in the road. And he was offered millions of rupees for his technology, but he did not give that. He gave it as an open source to Indian companies to make roads from plastic goods. To the left, you could see t-shirts made from that small t-shirts. That big t-shirt was cut into 10,000 small t-shirts and distributed to children. And look at that smile on the face of that children. One corner, you see me with folded hands. It is about a mission called as the Namami Gange. Ganga is a very big river in India. Once upon a time, 40% of India's population depended on the Ganga for its living. But Ganga has become polluted as times proceeded, and the Indian government has put into action a plan called as the Namami Gange. Namami means greetings, and greetings, O Gange, and we will help to clean you of your plastic waste. That is the passion, and that is the commitment of our startups and of the people involved in the plastic waste management. I mentioned about some impactful companies, startups. I mentioned about Recycle. They are the first company to digitize the waste. They have put in place a system where all traceability, transparency can be got through picking up waste and digitizing it. This feel good eco, this company is the one, this startup has made, chocolate wrappers he has used to make phone stands from plastic waste, and the tiles which I mentioned from multi-layered plastics. Pashupati Group is the one which is one of the largest recyclers of plastic waste and converting it into fabric. Banyan Nation is one such startup which is giving good quality polypropylene and polyethylene for making shampoo bottles which are 100% recyclable for the brands. Shakti Plastics is one of the oldest recyclers in India, and they have been here for over 50 years. And recently, Lindell Basil, a big company in petrochemicals, has tied up with Shakti Plastics to put in India one of the massive and biggest recycling plants for post-consumer plastic waste, PP, LD and HD, for food contact applications. This plant will come in India in 2024. Lucro, the startup which has made bags from the plastic which is littered in the ocean. We talk about a circular economy. Why I say a circular economy 2.0? The circular economy concepts of 1.0 before the pandemic and 2.0. There we are making all plastic packaging is recovered and its value is captured instead of ending up and buried in a land somewhere. This is the recycling market size in India, scheduled to become 53.72 billion US dollar by the end of 2023, and we are on the path. So let us not waste plastics. We invite our entrepreneurs of the world to come in and see the land of opportunities for investing, coming in, putting technology, your efforts, your presence in the Indian ecosystem. What would be the way ahead? And which is happening. The regulation of production and consumption, eco-designing our plastics and our packaging, increasing the demand for recycled content. This has become mandatory by law. Reducing the unnecessary use of plastics, that is very much important. Using renewable energy for recycling, extended producers' responsibility. This is going to be a phenomenon not only in India, but in the entire earth. 175 countries of this globe, in some form or other, some have excelled, some have to begin, but it is going to be the law of the earth. Improvement in the waste collection systems, prioritizing again the recycling as the industry, use of bio-based and biodegradable plastics to increase in the times ahead in the country, improvising in the recyclability and use of digital technology. to have more transparency, more traceability. And when we talk of all this, we talk about one word, that is sustainability. And the best lesson to learn for sustainability is nature itself. There is a drop of water on the leaf, and 12 ants are drinking from it. They have divided themselves into 4 groups of 3 ants each. And those ants are balancing the leaf so that the drop of water will not slide off the leaf. These are the wonders of natures and learnings for us all. Cooperative behavior, resource sharing, self-enforced order of not littering plastics, reducing the use of plastics, using plastics frugally, and creating wonders for our nature. Again, looking at the world through the specs of recycling, balancing the eco and the ego. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Balancing the eco with ego. That is a fantastic statement, sir. The end.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I have it's very learning, a very informative session, and also a lot of eye-opening statements in this presentation. I think everybody should listen to you and understand more about the plastics, not blaming the plastics, but utilizing the plastics in effective manner and a wise manner. So it's just a beautiful material. I do like to have some points to discuss with you, additional points based on what you discussed. You talked about banana leaf takes 6 months time, or banana peel, the fruit. It takes 6 months time to biodegrade against the other plastics. It takes only the biodegradable plastic takes three months. So we should always just no need to eat on the banana leaves anymore. Okay, or you can go for these biodegradable plastics or plates, or those are much more efficient. You think so? I think India is a huge source of the banana leaves, and we practice a lot in actually we also promote that one, right? People ask them to eat on the banana leaves. What is your comment on it?
That's where the change is there. The change begins from me, and then you, and then India. Traditionally, you have also been you have gone long time ago, but even today, banana leaf continues to be served the food in big hotels, and at the same time it is not possible to have banana leaf everywhere. That's where the alternative plastics, after the ban of the single use plastics comes the role of the biodegradable plastics. So it is a balance of this, and in the times ahead, the alternative materials, the biodegradable materials, are going to see traction in the next 5 years. No doubt, at the moment they are costly. Everything is costly before it can become cheap. But evolving of the ecosystem and the environment, once it happens, these alternatives will see major traction.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, if the biodegradable plastics become more economical, and I think a lot can be changed, right?
Yes.
It depends on the demand and supply. That matters. Yeah. So, you mentioned about indoor model, one of the successful model in the indoor. Can you a little bit elaborate how it is successful? What was the model about?
People, everything was there, but people. Indore is the second largest city in the state of Madhya Pradesh, which happens to be the second largest state in this country. And the people of Indore, in fact, we began this work there in 2014, and in 5 years the people have become so passionate and involved in the ecosystem that they have really taken this initiative forward. No doubt the systems were there, But even today, if what happens to go in the city of Indore, if you drop something on the road, a person will come behind you like everyone is a moral policeman there, and ask you to pick up the litter. No doubt the technologies have been put in place. In the Indore, the dump yard today has turned into a eco garden where children play.
Oh.
All the waste, the legacy waste, was treated and a garden made. India also has the largest or great model of PPP, public-private partnership, in Indore, of a plastic waste management plant there in the best technology, as also for managing the biodegradable plastics. They have converted into energy. So this city of Indore has been a eye opener for other cities, and as I mentioned, 72 countries. They have coined a new word, garbage tourism. You come to India, you come to Indore, and you see how go for a tourism there on how garbage is being treated there. But in one word, if it has to be summarized, it is the will of the people there, the inhabitants, who has made this possible. And when we have seen that in any ecosystem, there is the government, there is the consumer, there are the people, there are the NGOs, there are the plastic producers, there are the technology providers. And if we have to solve the problems of our litter, be it any litter, all these stakeholders have to come together and then work. Everyone sees the problem through his or her eyes. Indore is a glaring example where all the stakeholders have come together and maintained that consecutively for the last 7 years, and created a model which is, you have to believe it. And I will share you a video. You should show it sometime to
Sure.
see how the Indore model is a best example of what, if determined people are there, all problems can be resolved.
I think there's people's consciousness and willingness makes a difference, right? So, you talked about the. Before I go to the that issue, in which state of India the plastic waste is less, or in per capita basis? Which is I like to know more of which state is more conscious about the managing the plastic waste.
The small states to the northeast of India and the state of Goa, there also, even though there are people coming from all over the world for tourism, they have put in place laws for littering and best ecosystem. In fact, India, I don't know if it's there in the world. In the state of Goa, India is the country where the state of Goa, there is a minister for solid waste management. That much is the importance given by the local government there for having a full-time minister for the waste management.
Wow, Minister for Solid Waste Management. That's interesting. And also, the Goa is one of the tourist destination in India, one of the famous tourist destinations. So it's important to keep this state clean, right? So
yes,
you mentioned about way forward. There are a lot of different suggestions, how we can take care of things, eco design, various issues on it, redesign, rethinking, resisting the temptations, things like that. I do wanted to point out that education, awareness, and at the level of the primary schools, probably you may seen in other countries, the children get trained in at the early age how to keep their places to be hygienic, and keep things, not throwing things, not littering everywhere, and so Is there any policy with reference to the education system in India, with reference to
The new
the
education policy has laid more stress on environment. It's evolving, and more stress on the environment, health, and hygiene is an important fact after the pandemic. And so that is a priority, and world over we see this happening. India, I had visited Japan, and Japan kids from their early age, I was surprised. They even wash the toilets in their own schools. That is the level of commitment of cleanliness, and that's what we have to inculcate in our future generations. And we in India also, the plastic fraternity, the government is giving a lot of stress on education. And Param, let me also congratulate you. You are also doing excellent work in promoting the awareness, and also through your ecosystem promoting the correct use of plastics. And that is what is needed. In the developed countries, everyone is responsible. We are coming from the so-called developing or the world of tomorrow, where we will make our impact. And I'm sure that our generation to come, they will be more responsible than our past, and so that we can lay claim to a full future, more exciting, more brilliant, and more reliable on this earth, the future generation who will take care of planet earth.
Yeah, definitely. Their role is very, very important, educating the future generation and make them understand. And adults are difficult to change. We have our own mindset, but if you inculcate good practices since the beginning, just you mentioned, rightly mentioned about Japanese kids, it's automatically while they grow up, they know the issues, they know how to be well behaved and responsibly. So yeah, that is a way forward. Educating young children, and it's important thing. You talked about very interesting to know about startups, and one company is Unicorn as well. That's very interesting. You shown a lot is possible. Waste is not a waste. Waste is really a resource and things like that. So for how many you are actually mentoring and coaching them, I believe, right? Many of these guys. How was this these young entrepreneurs attracted to the we call it a dirty business, okay, because it's all the dirty things. A lot of young people are looking at developing programs or apps and transport or those kind of things, but looking at the serious issues like waste management, and you are closely working with them. Can you talk about this mentality of these younger, young entrepreneurs who are involved in this, particularly in the plastic waste issues? How was your journey with them, please?
You see in my hand a tripod like plastic. So this is made from chocolate wrappers. This is a mobile phone stand made by an Indian startup, Feel Good Eco Nurture. His tagline is very nice. Where waste feels good, and they are the startups who have shown the passion for this. It's very easy to get carried away by the IT industry and well-paying jobs, but as I said, the ecosystem of the Indian entrepreneur or the Indian kids growing up, they have been attracted. And we had this Swachh Bharat or the Clean India movement that has given rise to a lot of budding entrepreneurs and the best thing is the government is supporting them, the industry is coming forward to support them, and these young minds add a lot of value addition to this. I also get inspired working with them, and it's just guiding them, and they put technology to work, they put their minds to work, And we come from a generation where we have worked hands-on on the machines in the plants, but they come with fresh ideas, and they don't have the stigma of failing. So even if they fail, they come back from that mindset. We always thought what will happen. So that is the new India. And you very well know that India has the largest population working under the age of 35. So these are the, I will tell you the age group also. These are, I said 25, this young boy, but the average age there is between 30 to 35. These young entrepreneurs who have worked in the sector for some time, worked in the IT sector, and then come to this sector with a mission to make the waste sector not only adding glamour to it, but also changing the mindset and changing. And as I said about the opportunities, so this is what they see. And uh, uh, whoever would have thought adding internet to the trash, it is just digitizing, and how traceability, transparency, where your truck is located. Now, these are things, the marriage of technology and plastics and recycling, which has made things possible.
Yeah, I think very encouraging and inspiring stories of these young entrepreneurs as role model for others to follow. Yeah, and particularly finding a solutions for the real problems like plastic waste management. Are they doing a profitable business now, or are they still in
Yes,
the early stage?
yes.
Yeah,
All those I mentioned in that 4 or 5, they're all profitable. So that is
that's
also an important message. So they have learned, they have unlearned, they have failed, but again they have relearned and stood on their feet.
so. How many startups altogether, as you based on your knowledge, in plastic waste
There would be
issues?
around 500 to 700 startups in India doing well.
Very good. Oh, that is very encouraging. Very encouraging, really. Yeah. I know, plastic waste, not just plastic waste, most of the waste businesses are pretty much unorganized, right? You know, you don't see because of the logistics, because of the way people behave, it's pretty much unorganized. How do you see um, changes in terms of management aspects of either collection or transport, these aspects of the plastic waste? Is it getting organized? More players are coming in terms of this management aspects of it?
Yes, I showed you the map of India about the recycling clusters there. So they were earlier in the inorganized form, but they are coming together, and it's everyone is playing their role. So they are having, for organized, you need effluent treatment and such facilities. They are coming into such ecosystem. There are common facilities and common resources, and then each one does their own role. The Indian ecosystem has been always in the unorganized sector, but times are changing. I talked about this startup of digitizing the waste. We see the waste pickers, as they're called. They come from a poor background, they are not educated, but just there are schemes of the government which do not percolate to the bottom. These companies have taken the initiative to educate them. Everyone has a smartphone there. It's not the language. The lady on that slide, she has a smartphone, she has an app where the plastic, it's not mentioned the name, the diagram is shown, the picture is shown, and she sees the rate there, and she goes to the collection center where she gets more plastic, more remuneration for her plastic. So that's how, working at the ground level, and these people constitute the basis of the collection at the ground level. So they are being slowly got into the formal sector. Of course, this is going to be taking time, but things are happening. And the government, the private companies, all are doing their part. and basic things of hygiene, basic things of their insurance, basic things of their bank accounts, these are being put in place. So there is more transparency and accountability. And no doubt this is at a nascent stage, but we have really started seeing these startups and these companies also doing excellent work in this.
And you mentioned about the plastics waste used in the road making, and there is a professor, right?
Is
That
Professor
you hold
Dr.
hands.
R. Vasudevan.
Yeah, he's very famous, and we heard stories about him. So, how many kilometers of the roads made out of plastic waste in India, right, so far?
In terms of kilometers,
Kilometers, yeah.
over 100,000 kilometers.
100,000 kilometers. No.
0.1 million. I want to, in terms in India we talk in lakhs. That's why I got confused. 1 lakh. That is 0.1 million.
0.1 million kilometer.
Yes.
Oh, okay. And
0.1 million.
0.1 million kilometer of the road is made out of the plastic waste.
Yes.
And which state is that? In the Tamil Nadu? Is it from Tamil Nadu somewhere?
No, the professor is from Tamil Nadu, but the roads have been made in the north, and all parts of the country, from north, south, east, west, even in the Himalayas or the northeast.
Oh, okay. And what is that? How's condition after a few years? It's normal. It's like concrete based roads, or what it's like?
These are not concrete. You add it to the bitumen, and
yeah,
and that's why
when you compare with the the roads made of the concrete and the roads made of this plastic waste mixed with bitumen, yeah. After a few years, the conditions, how it looks like.
Good. So the studies have shown, and land, and I said 0.1 million kilometer only in a network. That is happened in just 3-4 years, and now that is the success story. And after this 0.14 kilometer, 1 million is, all these roads are good, and there is no potholes or such. And that's why it has been mandated, as I mentioned. The highways are of cement and such, but every city 50 kilometers in either direction, these made mandate by the government that use plastics in the roads there.
Yeah, it's a really good solution, right? And if every government utilize this technology, and it's very nice to know that his technology is open for everyone. Anybody can use it. Yeah, it's kind of so yeah, that's nice. Finally, I'd like to ask you, how is the technology in terms of plastic recycling technology when it comes to the sorting out, whether it is, there are many processes are there. As India is developing, indigenous technologies, or are we still importing the, technology from overseas?
The basic high-end technologies still continue to be imported, but machinery people and again startups in this ecosystem, I find it so nice to see that the same company importing the technologies, they have mentored this startup and put up and given them money, given them ideas, and these are developing technologies at the local level, and they are being accepted. And so technology developed locally is also being put to use, and it will not be very long. I was just talking to a startup today that he says that today he has made, just today only he has made an experiment which was very difficult for him, but he has succeeded. And he says, well, I've cracked this and I plan to export my machinery. That is in sorting.
Okay, finally, sir, you are part of the Plast India Foundation, which is a host of the plastic exhibition, one of the largest exhibitions in the world. How do you see the growth of the plastic industry in India in terms of the overall growth on annual basis?
The plastic industry is an exciting phase now. The petrochemical industry will continue to grow to 2050, and the plastic industry, though it's ups and downs because of the plastic bans, it is poised to grow at an annual rate of 5 to 7%.
So we're having good times then. We're living the good times, yeah?
Yeah. We welcome you to come be a part of this story and see for yourself and see how we can learn from each other and collaborate to make plastics a little better. The agenda is, everyone on this planet, the people passionate about the environment and the people concerned with plastics have to balance planet and plastics.
Yeah. Sir, Dr. Samir Joshi, sir, thank you very much. It's a really wonderful presentation and also interesting discussion to learn more about India and its plastic waste management. Any final message to the audience?
We have inherited the planet from our ancestors and we are just the custodians for our future generations. Plastics are the materials to stay. Let us reduce their consumption. They're not needed. Reuse when and always possible. Rethink. And when we talk of a circular economy, I would like to do a circular namaskar in the sense that circularity is the way ahead. There, one waste is a resource for another, and let us all work together to make our planet plastic waste free and better environment for our next generation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. It's a really wonderful session to get, today on the plastics recycling India. Personally, I learned a lot. I believe the audience too. Guys, that's the end of this presentation today on behalf of the Plastic Industry Tech Talk, focusing on the plastics recycling in India overview. Our guest speaker, Dr. Samir. I believe that you learn a lot of eye-opening statements and very useful case studies, and people should follow. Once again, Dr. Samir, thank you. Appreciate for your time for being part of this plastic industry tech talk today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.